everyone, I want to give you a quick demo on the basics of making initial image adjustments in the Camera Raw dialog box and sending them to print. So I'm going to navigate to the Camera Raw file that I would like to use. I have it here on my desktop. I think I will open this one, so I will double click on that, which should open Photoshop and then the Camera Raw dialog box for us. So there we go. Yours will probably look a little bit different than this. You have a slightly newer version, but all of the adjustments are the same. So you see I've got my image here, and for the first assignment, what I'm going to do is change this to grayscale, but when you're working in color, you would leave everything as is. So I'll go over, you can see where my mouse is, to the fourth button over here, HSL Grayscale, and convert that to grayscale. Boom. Then I'm going to go back to the main settings, which is this button here that I'm hovering around. And you'll recall I'm going to have a first look at my histogram, and it looks like my black point is set just perfectly right there. You can see if I slide it over, it starts to spike. So I'm just going to put it back where it was. Looks like my white side is spiking a little bit, so I'm going to try and bring this down, and I'm noticing that it won't stop spiking, and what I realize is it's probably got to do with this very bright light in the image right here. So what I'm going to do is go into my highlights and slide that down, and that allows a little bit of recovery to happen there. So bring that over with the white. So you want to just make sure that doesn't start indicating that you are spiking in your highlight area. So now just looking at the whole image, I'll go to exposure and think about if I want to open it up a little bit more, but you can see if I open it too much, it's starting to spike in the highlight area. So maybe bring it down here. Do I want to add a little bit more contrast? If I do that, I can go pretty far with contrast before it starts to spike. Do I want to add less contrast so that there's more sort of separation between the highlights and midtones? So I kind of like how it looks there. I might have a glance to see if I can open up the shadows a little bit. You can see I'm hovering around here. Slightly open those. And take one last adjustment to the exposure. Just leave it about there. Whoops, and then I see, whoa, I went a little bit too far and my highlight started to spike. So there I have a good histogram that is an indication of the values in this particular image, and nothing is spiking. So I am good there. Okay, so one of the things that you'll want to check before you decide to open or save this image after you've made all of your adjustments is you'll want to click this guy down here, and if you are printing in grayscale, you're good to be at gray gamma. If you're printing, or if you're working rather in color, you want to be at Adobe RGB 1998. So for now, we're at gray. For our purposes for early assignments, we're going to just work with these files as 8 bits per channel. When we get a bit advanced and it becomes important to retain more detail, we may work at 16 bits per channel. That makes a larger file size as well. So for now, 8 bits per channel. Keep everything the same here. Make sure the resolution is set to 300, because that just means when you bring the file into Photoshop, it's at a standard print resolution, which makes things easier. So you want it to be the default size. No sharpening. All of these should remain unchecked, but 300 being the important part there. Hit OK. Open that image. Whoops. Command H for me because I had all of my guides on. So from here, if I just want to go ahead and print this file in Photoshop, I would first find out what the image size is. So image size. It's defaulting to pixels. I'll just change this to inches. As mentioned in class, that is too large to print on an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. So I'll just change this to 10.5 inches. This is selected, so you only have to change one side and the other dimension changes in relation to that. So I'm actually making a reduction here. So I'm going to select bicubic sharper reduction, and that will give us a better result. So I will hit OK. And now if I go into print, you would want to select here, I'm at home right now, so I can't select the Epson 1, 2, 3, or 4, but you would want to select Epson 1, 2, 3, or 4. When you are printing in grayscale, you notice that the document is tagged as gray gamma, which is what you would like. So then you go to Printer Manages Colors, and this is just for when you're printing in grayscale. There are different instructions for printing in color. Then you go up here into Print Settings, and then I'm good with US letter. That's exactly the size paper that we want to print on. I am going to go into Print Settings right here, and indeed, luster paper is our surface, photo black is the ink. So, whoops, and if you notice this, it's not giving you the option to select this. That just means I need to go up into color matching and turn on Epson color controls. So I did that. I'm going to go back here to Print Settings. Still got my paper selected correctly. I'm going to go into Advanced Black and White. Keep it at neutral, super fine, high speed off, finest detail. Again, making sure this is set for whatever printer you want to go to. Hit save. You come back here and you go ahead and hit print. You also want to keep an eye on the layout. If it's looking like this, that's not correctly positioned on your page. You just toggle between these two views. You hit print and you are good to go. So that's just a quick little intro. So the only other thing you will want to do once you have printed your file is you want to save it. If I go and just try and close this, it's going to say, do you want to save changes? And I will indeed say, yeah. So I'll hit save. It's automatically adding the PSD Photoshop document extension. And you'll recall, I highly recommend you always leave that string of numbers intact so that you can find your file at a later time. In this instance, I'm just going to add the term print to the front of this. You would determine where you want this to be saved to. I'm good with saving it to the raw demo file folder. Remember, if you don't designate a folder, it's most likely going to just save to the documents file on the computer in the lab, which will not be saved, so that's no good. But so I'm hitting save here, and I've got my file saved. And that is that for now. More later.